Hi, this is James Ng with Old Capital, and today we have Josiah Mann with Investor Deal Room joining us today. Josiah, how you doing?
Doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, so in today's market, one of the investors that I follow, Jim Biggs, he posted earlier today about what comes first, the capital or the deal.
Mm.
Right? And so today we're going to be talking about how you raise capital in today's market and how, there's a lot of new technology around raising capital. So we brought Josiah on today to talk about what they do. So Josiah, maybe give us a little intro to you yourself, and then also about Investor Deal Room.
Yeah, for sure. So first off, my background was in kind of digital marketing and software. I worked for some big marketing agencies building software for them for quite a few years, and worked with some of the bigger name companies. So I kind of had my background in that, and then eventually got into real estate myself and got interested in the real estate syndication thing myself, and read Rich Dad Poor Dad like most of my clients have, and kind of turned my brain and flipped the switch there. And so when I started getting involved in the real estate syndication world, I saw the need for software there. And basically the big need I saw was when people were actually doing these large syndications, they would have more and more trouble with managing investors through that process. So basically they're just hodgepodging together a bunch of different tools to try to find, keep in contact with an investor who committed, and then keep separate who committed from actually who signed the documents from who funded. So that whole process started to become real tedious, especially as people got around the 50 plus investor mark in a deal. It's like, it just becomes a full-time admin job. And a lot of the guys that I was talking to, they wanted to keep lean and have a team of 1 to 2 or 3. They didn't want to hire a ton of additional staff. So we saw the opportunity to build some automation in there to make things a lot easier for them.
So a lot of people they might have an Excel sheet with their investor database, and then they have like MailChimp or Constant Contact, something like that, and
Right.
they're pushing stuff out
DocuSign,
and
Dropbox, all
Dropbox.
that
So
stuff.
they're okay. So you guys sort of put that all together to make the process. A lot of deals. Average deal size this year, probably on my stuff, is probably about 15, 20 million.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're raising $5 million, 100,000 a piece.
Yep.
And so, yeah, that 50 investors or more, they get up to very quickly. So I guess what makes you guys, so there's a lot of other technology around raising equity. What would you say is maybe 1 or 2 points that really separates you guys from other groups?
Good question. I think one of our biggest, one of the big ones is just user experience. So I personally designed and developed a product, and I'm just I care way too much about user experience and making things simple, and the kind of less is more aesthetic. So instead of being super focused on the numbers and super focused on all of the IRR and the ARR and all of the different metrics you can go into, we're focused on giving the investors a very clean and simple experience where everything they need is readily apparent to them, but it also looks modern and sharp. So what we want is for our sponsors, when they launch to investors, what we love to do is launch before a new deal comes out, and we start to build momentum to the new deal, because their existing investors are like, holy crap, this is like super professional. You guys are really taking care of things. And it builds momentum and makes them want to reinvest in a new deal. So having a really good user experience is one of our big differentiators, especially through the capital raise process. A lot of software, like the more data that you try to collect from investors, and this, if you've just put together the subscription documents and the PPM, like every sponsor has and an SEC attorney has a different level of complexity that they're going to put you through. And the simpler that you can make that process for investors, the more likely they are to complete and fund and then reinvest in the next deal. So on the tech side, we're trying to simplify that as much as possible.
Is there, I guess, give us a little background on the company, maybe also, like how long you guys have been around, how much, how many syndicators are currently using your system, amount of capital raised, just some sort of high level number so people get a feel
Sure.
for what you guys have done so far.
Yeah, so we've been in business for 2 years, and really we were the first year and almost 18 months. We've kind of been under the radar, and we worked with a very small number of syndicators who were doing big deals, and that's just the kind of process of building it slow and making sure that you're getting all the bugs worked out and all of that. Right now, we have less than 50 clients altogether, which is a really cool thing because there's actually opportunity for all of our clients to get direct feedback into the new features we're building. So we got a big quarter 1 push of some of the CRM related features and some of the cool stuff we're doing with the distributions. So, the next client batch basically gets to give us direct feedback into that. But most of our clients, it's pretty similar to the group you're describing, where you're doing a $15-20 million deal, you're raising $5 million. Some of them are doing $10 million raises and a little bit bigger than that, but let's say like $3 to $10 million raises, where they're doing those in a couple a year, a few, 3, 4 a year, and they're managing a lot of investors through the process. I mean, that's the big pain point, is when you have that many investors as a sponsor, just having automation. And I just talked to one of my clients recently, out of Texas, and he was saying basically when he launches a deal now, he's just doing content marketing, and he doesn't talk to investors once he sends a link out to them. They just go through, they commit, they sign, the whole thing's automated. So, and that's a great position to be in, where you're just marketing and then the money just showing up in the bank.
You guys have helped a lot of people raise money here in the past couple of years. I guess maybe do you have three things that maybe syndicators, when raising capital, what have you maybe seen syndicators do wrong, or what should they maybe some tips for when people are
Yeah.
raising? I mean, $5 million is a lot of money. So any tips for syndicators when they're going out raising money?
For sure. So one is just providing crystal clarity on the process. So, and even for us, when we first started building the product and we did our first raise, if there's any ambiguity in the next step for the investor, it causes confusion. It causes phone calls, emails, worry, and trust starts to fade, which is your primary, that's your primary asset as somebody who's raising capital, is the trust you have with your investors. So it's super important that they have clarity on the steps in the process. That's just one thing. And that then, when they've committed, they know that they need to sign documents, and that's right in front of them. When they sign documents, they have wiring instructions right in front of them. And that's how you make sure that both the transaction closes and the investor feels good about it at the end of the day. So that's the first tip I would have. The second is just to make investors feel confident about their decision. I think providing crystal clarity does that as well, but you're trying to build trust through that process. So the more professional and organized you look as a sponsor, the more trust you're building with your investors, the more word of mouth you're generating for that next deal. If you provide them with a good, simple experience where it's, takes them, 20 minutes to do the whole thing, as opposed to, sending them an email for this, and then you've got it on your spreadsheet. I need to send this guy the documents now. Go in the DocuSign, right? The more complexity you have in your process, the more likely it is that you're going to miss a step, or the investor is going to experience complexity in their process. So by centralizing things, whatever approach you take. Now, some people are great at systems development, and they can just do this on their own with a team, or you hire an admin and you write out that whole process real clearly. So that's a great practice, regardless of how you do it. To make sure that you're building trust with your investors and confidence, so that they can reinvest with you and kind of spread word of mouth about your deals for the next time. And then the third one I would say is if you can, automate it. And there's a lot of different tools for automating things. One of the challenges we're trying to solve is centralizing those tools, because like we said, if you have 5 tools you're using to raise capital for a deal, then you need to use a 6th tool to connect all the 5 tools. And then you have to become an expert in the 6th tool, so that when, if you really want to automate things, so that becomes a full-time job, just like connecting all of those tools together and making sure that nothing's out of sync. So that's what we're trying to help with Investor Deal Room, is especially during the capital raise process. If that stuff's automated for you, you can focus on the deal, focus on closing, due diligence. And then, if you're doing your marketing and stuff, sending out your webinar, or doing whatever you're doing to draw people to that link. But the rest of it should happen, on autopilot in an ideal world.
Yeah, I mean, I think sometimes when I talk to syndicators, this is definitely one of the more challenging parts of the business is raising capital. And then, you're having a lot of conversations with different investors. And the last thing you want to be worrying about is whether the DocuSign worked or whether somebody was able to fill out the paperwork after doing all this work of finding the deal, raising the equity, meeting all these people, and then you can't get them to do the paperwork because it's complex or they don't understand the process. And so definitely understand that.
Yeah, it's someone. One of my clients described it to me. Said he was in admin hell before. Every time he did a raise, it's just like oh my gosh, I got another urgent email before this investor funds. He needs this, or before this happens, and you don't want to be experiencing those alarming emails, phone calls, text while you're trying to, grow your business.
So how to get out of admin hell. I think I'm going to use that. I love that.
Yeah.
So what is the best way for people who are coming to the conference or even before the conference? What's the best way for them to reach out to you? And then if you guys are going to be around the whole Thursday and Friday, what's the best way for people to reach out to you guys?
Yeah. So first of all, check out our website, investordealroom.com. Feel free to request a demo through there and kind of look at what we have. We have some case studies on there and some case study videos from our clients. If you want to reach out to me directly, you can email me, josiah@investordealroom.com. It's JOSIAH@investordealroom.com. Or you can add me on LinkedIn. That's where I'm probably most active. And then just come say hi at the conference. We'll have a booth there and ask any questions, and we'll kind of talk from there.
All right. Thanks a lot, Josiah.
Thank you.